They called me the help at Thanksgiving dinner last year. Not to my face, never to my face, but I heard it through the kitchen door while I was bringing out the stuffing. Mrs. Harrison, though by then she'd asked me to call her Patricia after 39 years of calling her Mrs. Harrison, was explaining to her daughter-in-law who I was. "Oh, that's Walter. He's the help. Been with us forever. The help. 40 years of my life. And that's what I'd become. Not Walter. Not even our Walter, which at least would have implied some kind of belonging. Just the help. Like a fixture. Like the chandelier in the dining room or the grandfather clock in the hallway. Something that's always been there, useful and necessary, but not quite human enough to deserve a proper introduction. My name is Walter Eugene Thompson. I'm 73 years old. I spent 4 decades working for the Harrison family. Driver, handyman, butler, groundskeeper, whatever they needed me to be on any given day. I raised their children more than they did. I kept their house running when their lives fell apart. I was there for birthdays and graduations and weddings and funerals. And last month, when I finally retired, they gave me a Rolex with my name spelled wrong on the back. Walton Thompson, 40 years, and they couldn't even get my name right. The worst part, the part that keeps me up at night in this small apartment where I live alone, I let them. I let them turn me into furniture, into background noise, into someone whose name didn't matter because I was just supposed to be there, quiet and efficient, fading into the wallpaper. I sacrificed everything for a family that, in the end, couldn't even remember who I was. And I have nobody to blame but myself. I started working for the Harrisons in 1983. June 3rd. I remember because it was my 30th birthday. I'd been looking for work for 6 months. The factory where I'd worked since high school had closed down, moved operations overseas, left 500 men without jobs in a small town without its economic heart. I had a wife, Dorothy. We'd been married 8 years. Had a daughter, Grace, who was 5 years old and about to start kindergarten. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, and the savings were running out fast. Dorothy worked nights at the hospital, nursing assistant. It wasn't enough to cover everything, but it kept us afloat while I searched. Then I saw the ad in the newspaper. Live-in household manager needed. Room and board provided. Experience preferred, but we'll train the right candidate. Live in. That was the part that stuck with me. Room and board. Meaning Dorothy and Grace could stay in the apartment, and I'd send most of my paycheck home. Meaning we'd have a chance to save. Meaning Grace could have a better life than what we were managing on our own. I called the number. A woman answered. Crisp voice. Professional. Harrison residence. Yes, ma'am. Oh, calling about the position. The household manager position. Hold, please. Classical music played for 3 minutes. Then a different voice. Older. Male. Authority in every syllable. This is Charles Harrison. Tell me about yourself. I told him I was a hard worker, reliable, quick learner, that I'd done maintenance work at the factory, so I knew my way around tools and repairs. That I was looking for something stable, something long-term. Can you drive? Yes, sir. Cook. Basic things, sir. Nothing fancy. Live-in means you're here, available. When we need something, you handle it. Understood? Yes, sir. We have 2 children, 8 and 6. My wife runs a tight household. Everything has its place. Everything has its standards. Can you handle that? Yes, sir. I can. He hired me over the phone, told me to be at the estate the following Monday, 8 in the morning, sharp. I went home and told Dorothy. She cried. Relief mostly. We'd been so scared, so worried about losing the apartment, about not being able to provide for Grace. It's just temporary, I said, just until we get back on our feet. A year, maybe 2. She nodded, wiped her eyes, held my hand. We'll make it work. I had no idea that temporary would turn into 40 years. The Harrison estate sat on 15 acres outside of town. Not mansion-level wealth, but comfortable, very comfortable. 3 stories, 8 bedrooms, tennis court, pool, gardens that required constant maintenance, a guest house where I'd live, separate from the main residence. Charles Harrison was a banker, executive vice president of something. He wore suits that cost more than my car and spoke with the confidence of someone who'd never worried about money a day in his life. Patricia Harrison, Mrs. Harrison, was beautiful in that preserved way wealthy women often are. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect clothes. She ran the household like a military operation. Everything scheduled, everything managed, everything exactly as it should be. And then there were the children. Michael, 8 years old. Serious kid, already reading above his grade level, already showing signs of becoming exactly like his father. And Caroline, 6 years old, bright, curious, full of questions and energy, and that particular kind of joy that young children have before life teaches them to be careful. My first day, Mrs. Harrison gave me a tour. This is the morning room, fresh flowers every Monday. This is the formal dining room. We host dinner parties twice a month. This is Mr. Harrison's study. You're never to enter without permission. This is the children's wing. Michael's room, Caroline's room, the playroom. She moved through the house like a curator in a museum, pointing out rules, expectations, standards. We value discretion, Walter. What happens in this house stays in this house. We value efficiency. When something needs doing, it should be done before we have to ask. We value loyalty. We take care of those who take care of us. And I meant it. I was grateful. This job meant stability, meant Dorothy could cut back her hours, meant Grace could have new shoes instead of hand-me-downs. I was going to be the best employee they'd ever had. I had no idea what I was signing up for. The first year wasn't so bad. I learned the routines. Wake at 5:30. Prepare Mr. Harrison's coffee. Dark roast, 2 sugars, served in the china cup with the blue rim. Have the car ready by 6:45 for his commute. Return home. Help Mrs. Harrison with whatever she needed that day. Grocery runs, dry cleaning, taking the children to their activities. I was busy, constantly busy, but it felt purposeful, felt like I was contributing to something. Every week, I'd drive into town on my day off, visit Dorothy and Grace. We'd have dinner together in that small apartment. I'd give Dorothy my paycheck, minus a small amount for personal expenses. She'd tell me about her week. Grace would show me her drawings from school. "When are you coming home, Daddy?" "Soon, sweetheart, soon." But soon kept getting pushed back. After a year, Mr. Harrison gave me a raise. Said I was doing excellent work. Said they wanted to keep me on, long term. "We've grown quite dependent on you, Walter. The household runs smoothly because of your efforts." The raise was substantial. Enough that Dorothy could quit her night shifts. Enough that we could move to a better apartment. Enough that Grace could take piano lessons. How could I say no? "Just another year," I told Dorothy. "Just until we save enough for a down payment on a house. Then I'll find something local. Something where I can come home every night." She smiled, squeezed my hand. "Whatever you think is best." The first sacrifice. More time away, more weeks where I saw my family once instead of twice. More moments I missed. But it was for them, for their future, for the life I wanted to give them. That's what I told myself. By year 3, I'd become indispensable. I knew the household better than the Harrisons did, knew where everything was, knew every quirk of every system, knew exactly how everyone liked things. Mr. Harrison's morning routine, Mrs. Harrison's preferred florist. Michael's favorite after-school snack. Caroline's bedtime ritual. 3 stories, glass of water, nightlight on, Door cracked exactly 4 inches. I was the one who made Christmas happen. The decorations, the tree, the shopping, wrapping presents at midnight after everyone had gone to bed. I was the one who planned Mrs. Harrison's garden parties, who hired the caterers, who managed the staff, who ensured everything was perfect. I was the one Michael came to when he scraped his knee, the one Caroline called for when she had a nightmare. Walter, I had a bad dream. I'd come from the guest house at 2 in the morning, sit on the edge of her bed, tell her it was okay, tell her she was safe, stay until she fell back asleep. The Harrisons appreciated me, I think, in their way. Walter is a godsend, Mrs. Harrison would tell her friends. I don't know what we'd do without him. But it was never said to me, never directly. Just something I'd overhear while polishing silver, or trimming hedges, or standing invisibly nearby. Appreciation at a distance. Gratitude without connection. I was valuable, but I wasn't family. I was necessary, but I wasn't quite human. Dorothy died when Grace was 12. Car accident. Sudden. Senseless. She was driving home from the grocery store when someone ran a red light. The police said she died instantly, said she didn't suffer, as if that makes it better. I got the call at 4 in the afternoon. I was polishing the floors in the hallway. Mrs. Harrison found me 20 minutes later, sitting on the floor, unable to move. Walter, what's wrong? I told her, somehow got the words out. She put her hand on my shoulder. Oh, Walter, I'm so sorry. Take whatever time you need. We'll manage. I took 3 days. 3 days to bury my wife. To sit with Grace in that apartment that suddenly felt enormous and empty. To figure out what the hell we were supposed to do next. Grace was devastated. Silent. She didn't cry at the funeral. Just stood there, hollow-eyed, holding my hand. What's going to happen to me, Daddy? You'll stay with Aunt Marie, just for a while, until I figure things out. Dorothy's sister. She'd agreed to take Grace. I'd send money, visit when I could. But I want to be with you. I know, baby. I know. But I have to work. I have to take care of us. When I came back to the Harrison estate, nobody mentioned it again. No follow-up. No, how are you holding up? No acknowledgement that my entire world had just collapsed. Just, Walter. The gutters need cleaning, and Mr. Harrison needs the car at 6 tomorrow morning instead of 6:45. Life went on. Their life. Because I was there to make sure it did. And I let it. Because I didn't know what else to do. Because the work kept me from thinking. Because staying busy meant not facing the fact that I'd spent so much time taking care of someone else's family that I'd lost my own. Grace grew up without me. I visited once a month, twice if I could manage it. But I wasn't there for the important things. The first day of high school, the driver's test, the heartbreak when some boy broke her heart, the college applications. I was there for the Harrisons, for Michael's graduation, for Caroline's sweet 16, for every dinner party and holiday and milestone that mattered to them. Grace would call sometimes. Dad, can you come to my band concert? I have a solo. I'll try, sweetheart. I'll really try. But I never did. There was always something, some event at the estate, some emergency that wasn't really an emergency, but felt like one because the Harrisons needed me. By the time Grace turned 18, we'd become strangers. Polite strangers. We'd talk on the phone every few weeks. She'd update me on school. I'd send money for expenses. But the connection, that deep, fundamental bond between parent and child, had eroded. I'd sacrificed it, piece by piece, phone call by phone call, missed moment by missed moment. For what? For a paycheck? For a family that appreciated my work, but didn't see me? For the illusion that I was providing for my daughter by not being there for her. She graduated high school without me. I was at Michael's college graduation the same weekend. Same day, actually. I realized it that morning. Looked at the calendar and saw both events marked. Felt my stomach drop. I could have asked for the day off. Should have asked. Should have said, "My daughter is graduating, I need to be there." But I didn't. Because Michael's graduation was important to the Harrisons. And I was important to Michael's graduation. The photographer. The coordinator. The one making sure everything ran smoothly. So I stayed. And I missed my daughter's most important day. She didn't speak to me for 6 months after that. Michael and Caroline grew up. Michael went to Yale, became a lawyer, corporate law, made partner by 35, married a woman named Jennifer, blonde, beautiful, exactly what his mother would have chosen for him. Caroline went to Brown, studied art history, moved to New York, worked at a gallery, dated a string of men her parents disapproved of, before finally settling on a hedge fund manager named Bradley. I was there for all of it. The college drop-offs, the holidays when they came home, the engagement parties, the weddings. I adjusted my role as they aged. Less driving, more maintenance, more managing the house itself as the Harrisons aged and needed things done they couldn't do themselves. Mr. Harrison developed heart problems in his 60s, slowed down, retired early, spent his days in his study, reading newspapers, making phone calls to his broker. Mrs. Harrison threw herself into charity work, galas, fundraisers, committees, always busy, always social, always perfectly presented. And I was there, making it all possible, the invisible force that kept everything running. Michael and Caroline had children of their own. I watched them from a distance, saw them at Christmas and Thanksgiving when everyone gathered at the estate. The grandchildren would run through the halls, play in the gardens, jump in the pool. Sometimes they'd notice me. "Who's that?" "That's Walter," their parents would say. "He takes care of Grandma and Grandpa's house." Oh, and that would be it. Back to playing, back to their lives, back to not seeing me as anything other than part of the scenery. Grace got married when she was 27. I found out 3 weeks after the wedding. She sent me photos in an email. Her in a simple white dress. Her husband, a kind-faced man named David, smiling beside her. We kept it small, the email said. Just immediate family and close friends. I hope you understand. I stared at that email for an hour. At my daughter in her wedding dress. At the life she'd built without me. At the family I wasn't part of because I'd been too busy being part of someone else's. I called her. First time I'd called in months. "Grace, I know, Dad. It's fine. We just wanted something intimate. I should have been there." "You were busy. You're always busy." "That's not an excuse." "I know, but it's what it is." Silence. "Are you happy?" I asked finally. "Yeah, Dad, I am. David's wonderful. We're good." "That's good. That's really good." More silence. "I have to go," she said. "But thanks for calling. I'll talk to you soon." She never called back. And after a while, I stopped calling her. What was there to say? Sorry I missed your childhood? Sorry I chose a paycheck over being your father? Sorry I was more present for strangers than I was for you? Some apologies are too late. Some damage is too deep. Some relationships can't survive 40 years of benign neglect. Mr. Harrison died when I was 68. Heart attack, quick. He was in his study. I found him in his chair, newspaper on his lap, reading glasses still on. The funeral was enormous. Business associates, society friends, family from across the country. The whole town turned out. I wore my best suit, stood in the back, watched Michael give the eulogy. My father was a great man, a provider, a leader, someone who built a legacy. Everyone nodded, wiped their eyes, murmured agreement. But I kept thinking, I knew your father. I knew his routines, his preferences, his moods.
I knew when he needed space and when he needed someone to talk to, even if that someone was just me, listening while I drove him to appointments. I knew him better than most people in this room, and yet I was standing in the back, alone, unknown.
After the service, Mrs. Harrison found me. Walter, thank you for everything you did for Charles. He valued you very much. Thank you, ma'am. We'll need to discuss the future, the children and I, about the estate, about arrangements. Of course, ma'am. She patted my arm, then moved on to the next mourner, the next condolence, the next moment. And I stood there, wondering what arrangements meant for me. Mrs. Harrison lived another 4 years. She declined slowly. Memory problems, confusion. Eventually, she needed full-time care, professional nurses, medical equipment. The house transformed into a medical facility. I stayed. Of course I stayed. Where else would I go? I helped however I could, coordinating with the nurses, managing the household around the medical needs, being there. Michael and Caroline visited. Not often. They were busy. They had their own lives, their own families, their own obligations. Mrs. Harrison died on a Tuesday morning in March. I was in the garden, trimming roses. One of the nurses came out. "Walter, she's gone." Peacefully, in her sleep. I set down the shears, walked inside, sat with her for a while. This woman I'd known for 40 years. This woman whose life I'd supported and facilitated and organized. She looked peaceful, finally at rest. And I felt empty. Not grief, exactly. Not the way I'd felt when Dorothy died. This was different. This was the realization that the thing that had defined my entire adult life was over. The Harrisons were gone, both of them. And what was left? They sold the estate 6 months later. Michael and Caroline decided it was too much to maintain, too expensive, too impractical. They brought in a real estate agent, staged the house, listed it for an amount of money I couldn't even comprehend. "What about Walter?" I heard Caroline ask one day when they were discussing arrangements. "What about him?" Michael said. "I mean, what's he going to do?" "He'll retire. We'll give him a severance package, a generous one. He's earned it." They offered me 6 months' salary and help finding an apartment. 40 years, and that's what it came down to. 6 months' salary, a reference letter, a handshake from Michael. "We can't thank you enough for everything you've done for this family, Walter. You've been instrumental." Instrumental. Like a tool. Like something they'd used and were now putting away. "The retirement party will be next Saturday," Michael continued. "Nothing too big. Just family and a few close friends of mother and father's. To celebrate your years of service." "Thank you, sir." The words came automatically. After 40 years, they were reflex. The retirement party was at a country club. Tasteful, elegant, catered hors d'oeuvres and champagne. About 40 people. Michael's family. Caroline's family. Some of the Harrisons' old friends. There was a cake. "Congratulations, Walter," written in blue frosting. Michael gave a speech, talked about my dedication, my reliability, how I'd been like part of the family, but not actually family. Never actually family. Everyone clapped, smiled, came up to shake my hand and say congratulations and tell me I'd earned this rest. And then Michael presented the gift, a box wrapped in expensive paper for 40 years of exceptional service. I opened it in front of everyone. The Rolex, silver and blue, beautiful, expensive. I turned it over, read the engraving. Walton Thompson, in appreciation, the Harrison family. Walton. 40 years, and they'd engraved the wrong name. I stared at this expensive, beautiful, meaningless piece of metal with someone else's name on the back. "Do you like it?" Michael asked, smiling. "It's very generous," I said. "Thank you." What else could I say? Could I correct him? Tell him they'd gotten my name wrong? Embarrass him in front of all these people? No.
because that's not what I did. That's not who I'd been for 40 years. I was Walter, the help, the one who made things smooth and easy and comfortable.
So I smiled. I thanked them. I wore the watch with the wrong name, and I went home to my small apartment, alone. That was 8 months ago. I live in a one-bedroom apartment now. Nothing like the guest house at the estate. Nothing like the life I had for 40 years. The walls are thin. I can hear my neighbors, their TVs, their conversations, their lives. I have my savings, the severance, my social security. It's enough. I'm comfortable. But I'm alone, completely, utterly alone. Grace lives in California now. She has 2 children I've never met. She sends Christmas cards with family photos, professional shots. Everyone smiling. Everyone perfect. Hope you're doing well, Dad. Happy holidays. Grace, David, Emma, and Jacob. Formal. Distant. Like I'm an acquaintance she's obligated to acknowledge once a year. Michael and Caroline never call. Why would they? Our transaction is complete. They paid me. I left. There's nothing more to say. The Harrisons I knew are dead. The house is sold. The life I built there, or thought I was building, is gone. And I'm left with this question that haunts me every single day. What was it all for? I sacrificed everything for the Harrisons. My marriage. Dorothy spent years alone while I lived at the estate. Years of dinners by herself. Years of handling Grace's childhood solo. Years of being married to someone who was physically absent most of the time. My daughter. I missed her childhood. Missed being her father in any real, meaningful way. Missed the opportunity to be the parent she needed because I was too busy being the employee the Harrisons needed. My life. 40 years. 40 years of putting someone else's needs, someone else's comfort, someone else's family ahead of me. And for what? For a paycheck, yes. For financial security. For the ability to say I provided for my family. But I provided money, not presence, not love, not the time and attention and care that actually matter. I gave my family financial stability and the Harrisons everything else. And in the end, the Harrisons forgot my name. Sometimes I drive past the estate. New owners now. Young couple. Tech money. They've already changed things. New landscaping. Different paint colors. A modern fence, replacing the classic one I used to maintain. It's not the Harrison estate anymore. It's just a house. Someone else's house. Someone else's life. And I feel nothing looking at it. No nostalgia. No sense of loss. Just emptiness. Because it was never really mine. I lived there. Worked there. Spent more time there than anywhere else in my life. But I was never home. Home was supposed to be that apartment with Dorothy and Grace. Home was supposed to be the life I was building, the future I was working toward. But I never went home. I just sent money and visited occasionally, and told myself that was enough. And now I have no home. Just this apartment with thin walls and neighbors I don't know. I think about Dorothy sometimes. Wonder what she'd say if she could see me now. If she could know how it all turned out. Would she be angry? Disappointed? Would she tell me she warned me? That she knew what would happen if I kept prioritizing work over family? Or would she just be sad? Sad that I wasted our life. Sad that I chose wrong. Sad that I learned the lesson too late. I think about Grace too. My daughter who I barely know. Who built a life without me. Who learned early that her father's love came in the form of checks and brief phone calls and promises that never materialized. I wonder if she thinks about me, if she tells her children about their grandfather, if she's forgiven me, or if she's just moved on, accepted that I'm a peripheral figure in her story. I wonder if I could fix it, if I called her, if I flew to California, if I showed up and said, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I was wrong about everything. Would it matter? Would it change anything? Or is it too late? Too much damage, too many years of absence. I'm 73 years old. I worked 40 years for the Harrison family. I was reliable, dedicated, indispensable, and they forgot my name. But that's not the tragedy. That's not the thing that keeps me up at night. The tragedy is that I forgot my own name. I forgot who Walter Thompson was supposed to be. A husband, a father, a man with his own life, his own priorities, his own family. Instead, I became the help. I became a function, a role, a solution to someone else's problems. I traded my identity for a paycheck, my family for someone else's comfort, my life for their convenience. And nobody forced me. That's the thing I have to live with. Nobody held a gun to my head. The Harrisons didn't demand I sacrifice everything. They just accepted it, took what I offered, let me fade into the background of their lives until I was invisible. I did this to myself. I chose this. Every day for 40 years, I chose this, and now I have to live with the consequences. There's a park near my apartment. Small park, playground, benches, nothing special. I go there sometimes, sit on a bench, watch families. Fathers pushing their daughters on swings, mothers helping their sons across monkey bars, parents present, engaged, there. And I think, that should have been me. That should have been my life. Grace on a swing, me pushing her higher and higher while she laughs. Dorothy sitting on a bench, smiling, watching us. Simple moments, ordinary moments. The kind of moments that don't seem important until you realize you missed them all. Last week, a little girl fell off the slide, scraped her knee, started crying. Her father was there in seconds, scooped her up, held her. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're okay. Daddy's here." And she stopped crying, just like that. Because her daddy was there. Because she knew she was safe. Because he was present. I watched them walk to a bench, watched him clean her knee, watched him kiss the scrape and make her giggle, watched him be the father I never was. And I felt it, that deep, crushing weight of regret. Not sadness, not grief, regret. The knowledge that I had a chance, so many chances, and I threw them all away. For what? For the Harrisons? For a family that couldn't even spell my name correctly? I wear the watch sometimes. The Rolex with Walton Thompson engraved on the back. I wear it and look at it and remind myself, this is what 40 years of sacrifice got you. An expensive piece of jewelry with the wrong name. It's a good reminder. A physical manifestation of how little I actually mattered. Not as Walter, not as a person, not as someone with a name and a life and a family, just as the help, just as the invisible man who made their lives comfortable. Sometimes people notice the watch. Nice Rolex. Thank you, retirement gift. Must have been some career. It was something. And that's all I say. Because what else is there? How do you explain 40 years of working for people who forgot your name? How do you articulate the slow erosion of your own identity? You don't. You just smile and change the subject and move on. I got a Christmas card from Michael last month. Generic. The kind you send to acquaintances and old colleagues. A photo of his family in front of a decorated tree. Everyone in matching sweaters. Everyone smiling. Wishing you a joyful holiday season and a prosperous new year. The Harrison family. No personal note. No thinking of you or hope you're doing well. Just the generic message printed inside. I put it on my refrigerator. The only card I received. And I look at it sometimes, at Michael and Jennifer and their 3 children, at the life they're living, the life I helped make possible. And I wonder, do they ever think about me? Do they ever remember the man who raised Michael when his parents were too busy? who drove Caroline to school every day for 12 years, who made their holidays happen, who kept their house running? Or am I just the help? A person who existed in their past, served a function, and is now gone? I know the answer. Of course I know the answer. I was never real to them, never fully human, never someone they'd remember beyond the role I played. And that's not their fault. That's mine. Because I let them see me that way. I let myself become that. It's too late now. Too late to go back and make different choices. Too late to be the husband Dorothy needed. Too late to be the father Grace deserved. Too late to build the life I should have built. All I have is this apartment, this solitude, this overwhelming sense that I wasted the only life I'll ever get. 40 years. The prime of my life. Gone. Not invested in something meaningful. Not sacrificed for a worthy cause. Just gone. Spent making someone else's life comfortable, while mine dissolved. If I could talk to my 30-year-old self, that man who took the job with the Harrisons thinking it was temporary, thinking it was the right choice, I'd tell him, don't. Don't take the job. Don't trade time with your family for a paycheck. Don't let yourself become invisible. Don't sacrifice your identity for someone else's comfort. Money matters. Security matters. But presence matters more. Being there matters more. Being a husband and a father and a person with your own life, that matters more than anything else. But I can't tell him that. I can only sit here, 73 years old, alone in this apartment, living with the consequences of his choices, my choices. The thing about loneliness is that it's not just being alone. I've been alone before. After Dorothy died, during my days off, late nights at the estate when everyone was asleep. But loneliness is different. Loneliness is being alone and knowing it's your fault. Knowing you chose this. Knowing that somewhere out there, you have a daughter who doesn't call. Grandchildren who don't know you. A life you could have had if you'd just made different choices. Loneliness is looking back at 40 years and realizing you spent them on the wrong things. The wrong priorities. The wrong family. I worked 40 years for the Harrisons, and they forgot my name, but I'm the one who forgot what mattered. I'm the one who let work become more important than family. I'm the one who let myself disappear, and now I'm here, alone, with nothing but regret and a Rolex that says Walton Thompson on the back. If you're listening to this, if you're listening to this old man's story, learn from my mistakes. Don't sacrifice your life for someone else's comfort. Don't let your job become your identity. Don't trade presents for paychecks. Don't wait until you're 73 and alone to realize what actually mattered. Your family, your relationships, your time, your life. Those are the things that matter. Those are the things you'll regret losing. Everything else, the career, the money, the dedication to people who'll forget your name, it's all just noise. I learned that lesson 40 years too late. Don't make the same mistake.